Calm
Two
down, my
digits.
sweet Elijah. Mummy is
That is
going
all
to
it
get you
was.
food soon.
2 wrong digits in a phone number she typed in the dark with a screaming baby on her hip and $0 left in her account. 2 digits that sent her most desperate message to the most powerful man in the city. 2 digits that ended her marriage and started something she never saw coming. 2 digits that proved that sometimes the worst night of your life is just the universe rerouting you. But before we dive in fully, I would love to know where you all are watching from. Drop your country in the comments right now. And if you want to know how this story ends, hit subscribe because you are going to want to be here for this. Buckle up, because this is going to be intense. The baby would not stop crying. Sloan had been rocking him for 40 minutes straight, her arms burning, her back aching in that deep, specific way that only mothers who had been standing too long on cold kitchen tiles understood. Elijah was 11 months old, and he was hungry, and Sloan knew it. And that knowledge was the worst part. Not the crying, not the exhaustion, the knowing. The fact that she was standing in her own kitchen at 2 in the morning with an empty formula tin on the counter and exactly $43 in her account and no idea when that number would change. She put Elijah down in his bouncer and watched him scream at the ceiling. "I know, baby," she whispered. "I know. Mommy knows." She did not cry. She had decided somewhere around the 4th week of Marcus being gone that she was done crying. Crying did not buy formula. Crying did not pay the electricity bill that was now 12 days overdue. Crying did not make her husband answer his phone. She picked up her phone and called Marcus again. It rang 4 times and went to voicemail. Again. She hung up without leaving a message because she had left 11 already, and every single one of them was a small humiliation she was still paying interest on. She called Diane instead. Diane picked up on the second ring, which meant she had not been asleep either. "Sloan, I need help." Sloan did not do preamble at this hour. "I have nothing left. He has been gone for 2 months, Di. 2 months, and he has not sent a single rand, not a single message, nothing. Elijah needs formula, and I spent the last of what I had on his fever medication 3 days ago." Diane was quiet for a moment. Sloan could hear her moving around, probably getting out of bed. "How much do you need?" "Whatever you can spare." "I only have a little right now, honestly. My own month has been tight." There was guilt in Diane's voice, and Sloan wanted to tell her it was okay, but she could not make her mouth form the words, because it was not okay. None of this was okay. "But listen, I have a contact, a woman I know. She has money, real money, and she does not mind helping people when it is genuine. Let me send you her number right now." "Thank you," Sloan said. It came out smaller than she intended. Elijah let out a fresh wail that rattled something inside Sloan's chest. She walked back to him and balanced the phone between her shoulder and her ear as Diane read out the number. Sloan typed it into a new message as fast as she could with one hand, because her other hand had gone back to the bouncer, pushing it gently, desperately, the way mothers do when they have run out of every other option, and rhythm is all that is left. "Got it," Sloan said. "I'll call her now. She's very kind. Just be honest. She will help you." Sloan hung up and looked at what she had typed. She did not call. Calling felt too raw, too exposed. She typed a message instead because it was easier to beg in text than out loud. "Hi, Diane gave me your number. I am so sorry to contact you like this. I would not ask if I had any other option. My baby is 11 months old, and he has not eaten properly since yesterday. My husband has been gone for 2 months, and I have nothing left in my account. I just need enough for formula, and whatever you can spare, I will pay back every cent. Please, my account details are below." She typed her account number. She stared at the message for 3 seconds. Elijah screamed. She hit send. Then she picked him up and held him against her chest and stood there in the dark kitchen swaying, because there was nothing else to do. She did not notice that she had mistyped the last 2 digits of the number Diane gave her, She would not notice until it was far too late. Or, perhaps, as it turned out, far too early. Across the city, in a building that cost more to maintain per month than most people earned in a year, a phone buzzed on a glass desk. Kwon Seo-jin read the message once. Then he read it again. Not because he did not understand it the first time, but because he was a man who did not like to act on incomplete information. And this message had arrived on his personal line at 2:17 in the morning from a number he did not recognize, and that alone was unusual enough to make him pay attention. He was not a warm man. People who worked for him would have laughed at the suggestion. He was precise. He was methodical. He built things and broke things with equal efficiency and very little emotion. He had not built one of the most profitable private investment firms in the country by being soft. But he read the message a third time. "My baby has not eaten properly since yesterday." He typed back, "Who gave you this number? I do not know anyone by that name." The reply came fast, which told him she had been sitting there waiting. "Oh God, I'm so sorry. I must have mistyped the number. Please ignore this. I'm so sorry to have bothered you. Please forget this message." He stared at that for a moment. Then he opened his banking app and transferred the money. He did not think about it very long. He transferred enough for formula and then some because he was not the kind of man who did things halfway, even things he had not planned to do. He set his phone face down and went back to his quarterly reports. But he picked the phone up again 20 seconds later and looked at the message thread. Then he put it back down. Then he picked it up again. He was going to blame the late hour. If you are enjoying this story so far, do us a favor and hit that like button. It helps more people find stories like this one. And I better not hear you say you wouldn't subscribe. Come on, hit that subscribe button and don't miss out. Now back to Sloan. Sloan saw the transfer alert and sat down on the kitchen floor. Not because her legs gave out. She was stronger than that. She sat down deliberately, slowly, because sometimes when something shifts after you have been holding too much for too long, you need to be closer to the ground. She sat with her back against the cabinet and Elijah in her lap, and she read the alert 3 times. He had sent more than she asked for. A stranger. A wrong number. He had sent more than she asked for without a single condition attached. She typed, "You did not have to do that. I will pay you back. I promise." No reply came that night. She did not expect one. But in the morning, her phone rang at 8:47, and it was the number. She almost did not answer it. Then Elijah laughed at something on the baby mat, and the sound was so ordinary and so good that she felt brave enough to pick up. "Did the baby eat?" The voice was low, unhurried, like a man who had never once rushed through a sentence in his life. Sloan blinked. "Yes, he did. Thank you. I do not even know how to—" "You do not have to." A pause. "Good." Another pause. Sloan waited for him to hang up. He did not. "How old?" he asked. 11 months. "Boy or girl?" "Boy, Elijah." "Elijah." He said it like he was filing it away somewhere. "That is a serious name for an 11-month-old. "He is a very serious baby," Sloan said. "He cried for 40 minutes straight last night, and the whole time he looked like he was filing a formal complaint." There was a beat of silence, and then something that might have been the beginning of a laugh, quickly contained. "And the father?" The lightness left her voice before she could catch it. "Gone." "Gone as in?" "Gone as in 2 months. No calls, no money, no nothing." Another silence. This one felt different, heavier. "I see." "You asked," she said, because she did not know why she was still on this phone call with a stranger who had woken up and apparently decided to conduct a welfare check on a baby he had never met. "I did ask," he agreed. "What is your name?" "Sloan." "Kwon Seo-jin," he said, "since we are doing introductions." "Kwon Seo-jin," she repeated carefully. "That is also a very serious name." I am a very serious person." "Right." She glanced at Elijah, who was now trying to eat his own sock. "Well, Kwanseo-jin, thank you. Genuinely. You did not have to do what you did, and I will not forget it." "Make sure he finishes the bottle," was all he said, and then he ended the call. Sloan stared at her phone for a full 10 seconds. "Okay," she said to Elijah. "He is strange." Elijah offered her the sock. She did not expect him to contact her again, but that evening at just past 9, a text came through. "How is the serious baby?" Sloan looked at it for a moment and then typed back, "Currently attacking a soft toy with the focus of a man who has been wronged. Very intense." The reply took 4 minutes. "Sounds like he has a future in corporate negotiations." She laughed. Actually laughed, the kind that surprised her on the way out. She typed, "Don't let him hear you say that. His ego is already enormous for someone who cannot walk yet." And just like that, without either of them planning it, a conversation began. Now, let's talk about who Sloan was before all of this. Because it matters. It matters because the woman standing in that dark kitchen in an oversized shirt was not who Sloan had always been, and the distance between who she was and where she had ended up was not an accident. It was a series of quiet surrenders she had not even noticed she was making. 5 years ago, Sloan Carter had walked into the offices of a top financial consulting firm on a Tuesday morning with a leather portfolio under her arm and a salary package that had made her mother cry happy tears on the phone for 11 minutes. She had worked for it, every single digit of it. She had studied while other people partied, had taken the extra projects, had stayed late and arrived early and built a reputation that preceded her into rooms she had not yet entered. She was sharp. She was blunt in a way that people sometimes flinched at and then later respected. She had a tongue that could cut through nonsense the way a blade cuts through paper, clean and fast. And she was funny, which people did not always expect from someone who moved the way she moved, like she had already done the math on every room before she walked into it. She met Marcus at a dinner party she had almost skipped. He was charming, a little softer than the men she usually attracted, a little more openly impressed by her, which she found refreshing at first. He laughed at her jokes. He called when he said he would. He looked at her like she was worth looking at, which sounds like a small thing but is not. Not when you have spent years in rooms where people looked through you. They dated for 2 years. They married on a Saturday in October with her mother and his parents, and Diane and 40 other people watching. The first year of marriage was fine. The second year was when his mother started calling. "A grandchild," his mother said, in the particular tone of mothers-in-law who have decided that your body is a community project. "You have been married 2 years now. When?" Marcus did not tell his mother to stop. He started echoing her instead, gently at first and then less gently. "My parents are not getting younger, Sloan. It is not just about your career. You are a wife now." "I am also a person," Sloan had told him calmly. "I am allowed to be both." But Diane had said something similar to his mother, more softly, without meaning to take sides. "You can do both, Sloan. I did both." What Diane had failed to mention, and what Sloan had failed to ask, was whether Diane had done both with a husband who helped or alone. Sloan got pregnant. The pregnancy was brutal in a way she had not prepared for. Complications that put her on bed rest for 6 weeks. A body that stopped cooperating. A job that could not hold her position open indefinitely. She resigned. She told herself it was temporary. Marcus had been supportive during the pregnancy, attentive in the way of someone performing attentiveness. But she had not seen it that way then. She had just been grateful. Elijah arrived at 3 a.m. on a rainy Wednesday. Sloan held him and felt something rearrange itself permanently inside her chest. And then Marcus looked at her, 2 weeks after she came home from the hospital, while she was sitting on the couch in a nursing bra with spit up on her shoulder and Elijah asleep on her chest. And he said, "You should probably try to do something with your hair." Sloan had looked at him. "I'm sorry." I'm just saying, you used to always look put together. I'm not saying you have to be perfect. I'm just saying. She had told herself he was stressed. New baby. Adjustment. Period. She had given him grace she was not sure he deserved. The grace ran out around month 3. That was when the comparison started. His colleague's wife, who had 2 children and still showed up to events looking polished. His cousin's wife, who had gone back to the gym 6 weeks postpartum. Women who seemed to manage everything effortlessly, who Marcus cited with the enthusiasm of a man who had never once thought about what effort actually looked like from the inside. That woman has help, Sloan told him. She has a nanny and a housekeeper and probably a chef. Stop comparing us. I offered to get a nanny and you said no. You said getting a nanny for 1 child made me lazy. Those were your exact words, Marcus. Lazy. He had turned away. You're twisting things. She was not twisting anything. She had a memory like a court reporter. The nights away started around month 5. First 1 night, then 2, then whole weekends. When she asked, he said work. When she pushed, he said she was being paranoid. When she looked out the window one Tuesday evening and saw him in the driveway, kissing a woman she recognized from the one office party she had attended before the pregnancy, she stood very still for a very long time. The woman was his secretary. She had confronted him when he came inside. He had not denied it. What he had said instead was something Sloan would carry for a long time, not because it hurt her, but because of how clearly it showed her who she had married. Maybe, he had said, if you still looked like someone worth coming home to, I would not need to look elsewhere. She had slapped him, cleanly and without hesitation. He had left that night, and the nights turned into weeks, and the weeks turned into 2 months, and here they were. If this story is hitting close to home, drop a comment below and tell us what you think Sloan should do next. And if you have not subscribed yet, please do. We drop new stories every week. The text conversations with Quan continued. They happened mostly at night after Elijah went down, in that quiet hour when the apartment felt too still and Sloan's thoughts got too loud. She did not know what Quan did during the day. She assumed he was the kind of person who had an assistant manage his entire existence, and probably ate lunch at a desk and had not seen a grocery store in years. She told him this one night. I am imagining you have never stood in a supermarket queue in your life, she typed. Someone probably just conjures groceries for you. His reply came faster than usual. I have a driver who handles the conjuring. Very efficient, see? Exactly as I suspected. You probably don't know what a loyalty card is. I own 3 of the stores that issue loyalty cards. Sloan stared at that message. Okay, that was not the flex I expected, but here we are. It was not intended as a flex. That makes it worse. She could almost feel him trying not to smile on the other end. She had started to enjoy that. The moments where she could sense him bending slightly, the tiny cracks in whatever composure he kept wrapped around himself like a second suit. She had built a picture of him in her head. Severe, probably very tall, the kind of man whose office looked like a magazine spread and whose face did not move much. She imagined him responding to her texts with the same expression he used to review financial reports, unbothered, slightly above it all. She found it amusing to try to rattle that composure. Do you ever laugh? She typed one evening. Like actually laugh. Not the contained exhale you probably do when something mildly amuses you. What makes you think I do a contained exhale? Because that is what serious people do. They experience amusement at a slight distance, like they are watching it happen to someone else. A longer pause than usual. Then, that is the most specific thing anyone has ever said about me. Was I wrong? Another pause. No. She grinned at her phone. Elijah was asleep. The apartment was quiet, and Sloan Carter, who had not had a real conversation in months, was grinning at her phone in the dark because a strange man with too much money had admitted she was right about him. It was not nothing. 3 weeks into their nightly conversations, Quan asked her something that caught her off guard. "What did you do before?" Sloan was sitting on the bathroom floor because it was the only room in the apartment where Elijah's baby monitor did not pick up her typing sounds and wake him. She had a cup of tea going cold beside her and her back against the tub, and she read the message twice. "Before what?" she typed back. "Before all of this. You are clearly not someone who was built for surviving on $43. She had told him about the $43 2 weeks ago in a moment of honesty she had not planned. He had not made her feel small about it. He had simply listened, which was rarer than people understood. "I was a corporate strategist," she typed. "Top firm. Good salary. I was very good at what I did. I resigned when the pregnancy got complicated. I thought it was temporary. And now?" She looked at the bathroom tiles. "Now I am a woman sitting on a bathroom floor at 11 at night, texting a stranger because my son is finally asleep. And this is the most peace I have had all day." His reply took a moment. "For what it is worth, you are the most interesting stranger I have ever texted." Sloan felt something warm move through her chest that she immediately told herself was just the tea. "That is a very low bar, Kwon Seo-jin. Perhaps, or perhaps you are simply that interesting." She stared at that message longer than she should have. "Go to sleep," she typed finally. "Whatever you are, you have money to make tomorrow." "Good night, Sloan." She sat on the bathroom floor for another 10 minutes after that, not doing anything, just sitting there with his name on her phone screen and something unfamiliar and inconvenient blooming quietly in her chest. She told herself it was gratitude. She was lying. The next day, Marcus called, not to check on Elijah, not to ask if the electricity was still on. He called because he had apparently heard through someone that Sloan had asked Diane about a lawyer, and that information had finally motivated him to pick up a phone. "We need to talk," he said when she answered. "It has been 2 months, Marcus." I know that. Things have been complicated." "Complicated," she repeated. "Your son did not eat for a day and a half last week. Was that complicated too?" Silence. Then, "I have been going through something." "So have I," Sloan said. "It is called raising your child alone. It is not something I would recommend." "Sloan, what do you want, Marcus? Actually want. Because if you are calling to ask me to wait while you figure yourself out, I need you to know that I have already stopped waiting. I stopped about 6 weeks ago." His voice shifted, got a little harder. "I heard you have been talking to someone." Sloan went still. "What?" "Someone has been sending money to your account. I saw it when I checked the joint." "You do not have access to my personal account," she said slowly. "And I closed the joint account 2 months ago when you stopped contributing to it." A pause. "Diane told someone who told me." Sloan made a mental note to have a conversation with Diane. "Who I speak to is no longer your business, Marcus. You made it not your business when you kissed your secretary in our driveway, and then told me I was not worth coming home to." "I never said." "You did. You absolutely did. And I remember everything, always, which is something you have known about me since the beginning." She kept her voice very calm, that particular calm that was more dangerous than shouting. "I am going to send divorce papers to the address your mother gave me, since you apparently cannot give me one yourself. Please sign them promptly." She hung up. Then she sat for a moment and breathed. Then she picked the phone back up and texted Kwon. Hypothetical question. His response was almost immediate, which she had noticed was becoming more frequent. "Those are my favorite kind." If someone who had treated you very badly suddenly called because they heard you might be moving on, would you feel anything? A pause. What kind of anything? Any kind. I would feel confirmation, he typed, that the only time they considered your value was when someone else might see it. Sloan read that 3 times. That is very specific. You asked a very specific hypothetical. She smiled despite herself. He called. I assumed, are you all right? And there it was. That question, simple and direct, no performance around it. Are you all right? 2 months of Marcus not asking that question, and this man she had never met asked it like it was the most obvious thing in the world. I will be, she typed. I always am. Yes, he replied. I believe that about you completely. If you are new here, subscribe right now because this story is only getting better. Hit the notification bell so you never miss what happens next. 2 days later, Quan texted her something different. I would like to meet. Sloan read it and put her phone down and walked to the kitchen and poured a glass of water she did not drink. Then she walked back and picked the phone up. Why? She typed. Because I have been talking to you for almost a month, and I find that I am curious. Curious about what, exactly? You, he said, simply, without decoration. I am curious about you. Sloan sat with that. She thought about the picture she had built of him in her head. Severe face, expensive office, the contained exhale when something amused him. She thought about how she had told him things in the dark she had not told anyone else, not even Diane, because somehow the distance of a screen had made honesty easier. She thought about the fact that he had sent money to a wrong number at 2 a.m, and then called the next day to ask if the baby had eaten. I have to warn you, she typed. I am not what I used to look like. I am not asking to see what you used to look like. You don't know what you're asking. Then show me, he replied, and I will decide for myself. Sloan exhaled through her nose. Then she typed, Saturday. There is a bar near the East Bridge. Quiet, public. I will be there at 7. I will find it. You own 3 supermarkets. I am sure you will manage. This time she was certain he actually laughed. The reply that came back was just, Good night, Sloan. She called Diane immediately. I need you to take Elijah on Saturday evening. Diane's voice went up an entire octave. The texting man? You are meeting the texting man? He is not the texting man. He has a name. What is his name? Kwon Seo-jin. Silence. A very specific kind of silence. Sloan. Kwon Seo-jin as in the man who sent me money when I called the wrong number. Yes. Sloan. Diane's voice had dropped to a whisper that somehow felt louder than shouting. Do you know who that is? Someone with a lot of money and a very dry sense of humor. He is one of the most powerful men in this city. His firm manages investments for people whose names you read in financial news. He is not a person you just accidentally text. And yet, Sloan said. And yet, Diane repeated faintly. I will take Elijah. Obviously, I will take Elijah. But Sloan, please wear something that is not a nursing bra. I have not worn a nursing bra in 4 months. I do not know your life. Just look like yourself. The real yourself. Sloan looked down at her oversized shirt and her bare feet on the kitchen tiles. She thought about the real herself, the woman who used to walk into rooms and feel the temperature shift. She thought about whether that woman was still in there somewhere. She thought she might be, resting, waiting. Saturday arrived. Sloan dropped Elijah at Diane's at 6:15. Elijah grabbed Diane's earring immediately and tried to eat it, which Sloan took as a sign that he would be fine. She had worn a deep burgundy wrap dress she had found at the back of her wardrobe. It still fit, differently than before, the kind of different that told the truth about a body that had grown a person and kept going. She had done her hair. She had put on lipstick. She had stood in front of the mirror and told herself she was not doing this for him. She was doing this for herself, which was mostly true. The bar was quiet the way good bars are quiet, low lighting and soft background music, and the kind of atmosphere that made people feel like they could say real things. She arrived 3 minutes early and sat at a corner table and ordered sparkling water and told herself her hands were not nervous. They were a little nervous. She saw him before he saw her. He walked in like someone who had never in his life worried about whether he belonged somewhere. Tall, yes, she had been right about that. Dark suit, no tie. The collar of his shirt opened just enough to suggest he had started the day formal and somewhere decided against it. He had a face that was composed and precise, and then he scanned the room and found her, and something in it shifted, just slightly, just enough. He walked to her table. He looked at her for a moment before he sat down. "Sloan," he said. "You found it," she said. "Impressive, given that you probably had someone else look it up." He sat down across from her. "I looked it up myself. First time using a search engine. Congratulations." The corner of his mouth moved. Not quite a smile, the beginning of one. "You are exactly what I expected." "Sharp tongue and all?" "Sharp tongue, especially." He signaled the waiter without looking away from her. "It is different in person." "Better or worse?" He considered her across the table with those calm, unhurried eyes. "Better," he said. "Considerably." The warmth that moved through her this time she did not blame on tea. They talked for 2 hours. Not about business, not about Marcus, not about money. They talked about everything else. He told her he had grown up watching his father build something from nothing and had spent his entire life trying to understand whether he was continuing that or running from it. She told him she had grown up being the person in the room who always had to be twice as prepared to be taken half as seriously, and that she had gotten so used to working twice as hard that she had forgotten how to stop. "Even now?" he asked. "Even now I wake up at 5 feeling guilty for sleeping." She laughed a little. "My body does not know how to not be achieving something." "You are raising a child alone. That is achieving something. People do not give you a trophy for that." "People are idiots," he said, so flatly and so sincerely that she burst out laughing, real laughter, the kind that came from somewhere unguarded. He watched her laugh like he was seeing something he wanted to remember. "What?" she said. "Nothing." He looked down at his glass briefly. "You should do that more." "Laugh?" "Yes." She held his gaze. The air between them had been doing something all evening, tightening by degrees, and she was aware of it the way you are aware of a change in pressure before rain, not dramatic, just present. Undeniable. "You are not what I expected either," she said. "What did you expect?" "Someone colder. I had you pictured as a man who communicated entirely in bullet points and had not made a joke since 2015. I made one in 2017. "Just the one?" "It landed well. I saw no reason to push my luck." His eyes were doing something she was choosing not to examine too closely, warm in a way that felt private, like it was only happening at this specific table. "What changed your mind?" "About what?" "About the bullet points and the cold." Sloan tilted her head. "You called to ask if my baby had eaten. Cold men do not do that." Something moved across his face, not the beginning of a smile this time. Something quieter than that. Something that sat in the chest rather than on the mouth. "Sloan," he said. "Kwan Seo Jin," she said back, because saying his full name had become a private joke between them, and she wanted to see what it did in person. It did something. His jaw moved slightly. His eyes stayed on her face. "I want to offer you something," he said, "and I need you to hear it as a professional offer, because that is what it is." She raised an eyebrow. "That is a very serious preamble." "I have looked into your work. Your record at your previous firm was exceptional. I have a position, strategic advisor, that I have had 3 people fail at in 2 years because they could not tell me what I did not want to hear." He paused. "I do not think you would have that problem." Sloan looked at him. "You want to hire me? I want to offer you the position. What you do with the offer is yours. I have a baby. My building has a childcare facility on the 14th floor. It was built for exactly this reason." He held her gaze steadily. "I do not lose good people over logistics, Sloan." She was quiet for a moment. Outside, she could hear the city, distant and continuous. She thought about the bathroom floor, the $43, the empty formula tin, the woman in the burgundy dress who used to walk into rooms and make them shift. "Why are you doing this?" she asked quietly. "The money, the call, now this." He was quiet for a moment. Then, "Because you texted the wrong number and still said, 'please.'" He looked at her directly. "And because people who still say please when they have nothing left are the kind of people worth paying attention to." The air between them was very still. Sloan picked up her glass. "I will think about it," she said. "That is all I am asking." But they both knew she had already decided. She started on a Monday. The 14th floor childcare facility was warm and bright and smelled like baby powder and wooden toys, and Elijah walked in and immediately tried to claim a red pushcar, like he had been waiting for it his entire 11 months of life. Sloan stood at the door watching him and felt something loosen in her chest that had been tight for so long she had stopped noticing it. She took the elevator up to the executive floor and walked into her first day like she had never left. The staff noticed her immediately, not in a bad way, in the way that happens when someone walks into a space and the room recalibrates around them without anyone deciding to make it happen. She sat in her first strategy meeting and within 20 minutes had identified 3 problems in a proposed acquisition that 2 senior analysts had missed entirely. Quan sat at the head of the table and said nothing, but she caught his eyes across the room once, and the look in them was the same one from the bar. Private. Specific. Only happening at that particular table, or in this case, that particular room. After the meeting, he fell into step beside her in the corridor. 3 problems, he said. There was a 4th, but I did not want to overwhelm anyone on a Monday. He looked at her sideways. Tell me the 4th. She told him. He was quiet for 4 seconds. I need that in writing by 3 o'clock. I will have it to you by 1. He stopped walking. She stopped too and looked at him, and he was looking at her with that expression she was learning, the one that happened when she did something that confirmed whatever it was he had already decided about her. What? She said. Nothing, he said. Again, the same way he had said it at the bar. You keep saying nothing when it is clearly something. It is nothing you need to worry about right now, he said, and walked away, and Sloan stood in the corridor for a moment with her pulse doing something she was going to firmly ignore. She had the report on his desk by 12:40. 3 weeks into the job, Quan's company hosted a major international conference. Partners, investors, delegate companies cycling through over 2 days of presentations and negotiations. Sloan was running point on the day 2 opening session. She had prepared for it the way she prepared for everything, completely and without apology. She did not know Marcus's firm was one of the delegate companies. She was standing at the front of the conference room reviewing her notes when the doors opened and the morning delegates filed in, and she looked up once, routine, the way you look up when a door opens, and there he was. Marcus. He saw her at the same moment. He stopped walking and the man behind him almost walked into his back. Sloan looked at him for exactly 2 seconds. Then she looked back down at her notes. She heard him approach. She did not look up again until he was directly in front of her, and she had no choice. Sloan. His voice was low and tight. What are you doing here? I work here. She said it simply, the way you state something that requires no defense. You work here. He repeated it like the words did not make sense. Since when? Why didn't you tell me? Marcus. She said his name the way you set something down permanently. You were gone for 3 months. You did not call. You did not send money. You did not ask about your son once. I do not owe you my schedule. His jaw tightened. We need to talk about this. We need to do nothing together except finalize the divorce paperwork. She picked up her folder. I left the papers on the kitchen counter 2 weeks ago. I would appreciate your signature before the end of the month. Sloan, if you would just listen. I have a session to open. She looked at him directly, calmly, with the full weight of a woman who had already done her grieving in a bathroom floor and come out the other side. Please find your seat. She walked to the front of the room. She felt his eyes on her back the whole way. She did not turn around. She opened that session like she was born doing it. Drop a comment right now and tell us what you would have said to Marcus, because Sloan handled that with a level of grace that deserves a standing ovation. Subscribe if you are not already here, because we are almost at the ending, and you do not want to miss it. Marcus caught her in the corridor during the break. You look good, he said, and she could hear in it the thing he was not saying, the surprise, the recalibration, the realization arriving too late. I know, she said. Sloan, I made mistakes. I know I did. But if you could just give me a chance to… Marcus. She turned to face him fully. I want you to hear me. Not the version of me you talked over for 2 years. Me. She kept her voice level and clear. Even if I forgave you, and I am not saying I do, my son will remember. Children remember everything. Elijah will grow up and he will ask questions, and the answers will not be kind to you. That is not something I can fix for you. She tilted her head. Sign the papers. She walked away. Behind her, she heard him say her name once more. She did not stop. What she did not see, because she was already halfway down the corridor, was Quan standing at the far end of it. He had come to check that the session had started on time. He had arrived in time to see the last 40 seconds of that exchange. He had watched her walk away from Marcus the way people walk away from things they are completely finished with. No looking back, no hesitation, just forward. He watched her until she turned the corner. Then he straightened his jacket and went back to his office and sat at his desk and looked at nothing for a moment. Then he picked up his phone and typed, "You were exceptional today." Her reply came 20 minutes later. I know. The 4th problem I found a solution for too. Sending it now. He stared at his phone. Then he typed, "That is not what I meant." A pause. Then, "I know that too." He set the phone down, picked it up again. Dinner, tonight, not a professional offer. The 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. "Kwan Seo Jin," she typed. "Are you asking me on a date?" "I am asking you to dinner." "Those are the same thing." "Yes," he replied. "They are." Another pause, longer this time. He sat with it. He was not a man who second-guessed himself, but he was aware, in a way that was unfamiliar and not entirely unwelcome, that this particular pause mattered more than most things he had waited for. Her reply came, 7 o'clock, and you are picking the restaurant because I already made all the good decisions today. He read it twice. Then he did the thing he almost never did, not the contained exhale, not the beginning of a smile. He actually laughed, quietly to himself, in his office with the door closed, but it was real and it was full, and it had been a long time since something had pulled that out of him without effort. He typed back, 7 o'clock. That evening, Sloan stood in front of her mirror again. Same mirror as the opening of this story. Same woman, but different. The way rivers are different after rain. Same river, more water, moving faster, more sure of where it is going. Elijah was at Diane's. The apartment was quiet. She was wearing something she felt like herself in. She looked at her reflection and thought about the night she had sat on a cold kitchen floor with $43 in her account and a baby who would not stop crying. And she thought about how she had reached for her phone in the dark and mistyped 2 digits. And she thought about how the whole shape of her life had pivoted on that single small mistake. Some wrong numbers, it turned out, were the most right thing that ever happened to you. She picked up her bag. She lifted her chin. She walked out of the apartment and pulled the door shut behind her and did not look back. She had somewhere to be. If this story moved you, share it with someone who needs to hear it today. Like, subscribe, and we will see you in the next one.